Hello and welcome to the Happy Hour Hustle podcast with our host, Kim Bodie.
I am absolutely thrilled to be chatting with you.
Principal and fearless leader of 834 Integrated Communication. On this podcast, you're going to learn a lot about a lot, like public relations, marketing, digital, and advertising.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Forgive us if you hear some dogs in the background. We are obsessed with them, and there is a medium-sized pack at the office at all times.
Fantastic.
So grab a glass of wine, preferably one with ice in it, and learn a little something today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Happy Hour Hustle. I am your host, Kim Bodie, owner of 834 Integrated Communications. PR extraordinaire. Just kidding. But we are going to be talking about public relations today. So my other two guests are Emma and Loren. They are both on the PR team here at 834. We are going to talk about our favorite subject, public relations, and it's how to make the media or get the media to love you. Because this is around Valentine's Day. And as you know, everyone, we want to share the love. This is relevant to anybody who's not in public relations as well, because I think it really just comes down to relationship building. So if you want to look at it from that aspect, I think this will be a very, very valuable topic, and we'll try and keep it brief, which we never actually do, but we'll go through and have some major points and such. So Emma, what's the first thing that you kind of want us to tackle here?
I think just talking about why media relations is so important to begin with. Like, why do we want to make the media love us? Because it helps our clients and relationships. I think what I like to think about is that it's like in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, what's the ROI? What's this? And it's like, that takes work. Like, you have to build it up. PR is difficult for a reason because it's a lot of work and you have to keep doing it.
Well, in public relations, honestly, I mean, it's relevant to any company, whether you're a small business, a large corporation or whatever. I mean, it's a way for you to promote what you have going on within like leadership. So if you want to look at more thought leadership, if you're doing some groundbreaking things as it relates to, whether it's how you're running your company, whether it's how you're delivering your products, whatever it is, then that's something that you could be talking about, or you could be utilizing PR to get more information out there, which in turn can then drive maybe your talent attraction and retention, and then also get you in front of like potential clients or customers. There's also like promotion of a new hire, or a new product launch. I mean, PR can be used for all sorts of things, and that's small business relevant too. I mean, we're getting ready to announce a scholarship that we established through Grand Valley State University, and we're a small business. We're 10 people, and but it's big news, and it's news that's relevant to our local community. So public relations is really great for obviously getting yourself like on in front of the right audiences. It's also it's less expensive than advertising. Every business, quite frankly, needs it. And we're not talking press releases, because not everything warrants a press release. But it's a really great way to draw attention to like either your leadership, your some really cool things you're doing within your culture, the services you offer, products you're launching. I mean, the opportunity is endless, but that's really where it comes down to. If we bring it back full circle, is developing the right relationships with the media. And that's a hard thing to do, because there's so much turnover in the industry, and especially if you're an agency, you've got like at any time, we may be pitching 5-6 different stories a week. So how do we also find time to build those relationships with the media? But it's not something that you can put on the back burner. It's incredibly important.
Especially because we literally just talked about this like in our actual PR meeting. And so we're putting it into practice today with this discussion.
It's also like, I mean, we could go on and on about like having a crisis plan, which is always my favorite when people are like, well, what do I need a crisis plan? Well, you might not be in a crisis right now, but what are you going to do if it happens? Like, do you have a plan for that? Like, so, I mean, PR should be proactive. It also, it can work it can be reactive. That is never our preferred method because we are researchers, probably number one. We want to make sure that we're researching and we know all the facts before we're going to actually communicate anything on behalf of our clients. So, but so going back to relationships, and like I said, this ties into like anything. It's taking the time to actually get to know, genuinely get to know another person. And there's, you're going to communicate with a lot of people over your career. So how are, what are different ways you can, like really actually engage? Obviously through social media is a big thing. Like you should be following these people on LinkedIn, interacting with their post, connect with them if it may, if they'll even accept you, because again, you can follow on LinkedIn without being connected to somebody. So you can actually get in front of them before you request to be a connection. Twitter is a great way. I was just on this morning congratulating some reporters for being, the top searched the most searched reporters through or journalists through Muck Rack, which is our media program that we use. I've already gotten some responses, so it wasn't me asking for anything. It was me simply just saying like, hey, this is really cool. Like you're kind of a big deal. There's also the handwritten note, which is my most favorite, as you all know. That can be a little hard because journalists are, they're working from home now. They're not in offices. And that's another thing too. You see a lot of changes within, the public relations industry because you can't send media kits really anymore, to offices. Like, you're not sending it to a glamour office because the majority of the journalists, or at least the ones that you would work with, are not in there. Because it's a way for them to save costs in the industry that is, constantly being hit, with a loss of, they're just not making money. So,
yeah. And I think kind of what you said, like not going into it with something to gain.
yes.
I feel like PR pros and journalists alike are good at catching like BS, And so the more authentic, the better at the end of the
Agree.
day.
Yeah. If you take one thing away from this podcast, it's authenticity. It's so important. Just don't be a jerk. Like people can tell when you're faking it. You can tell it in the tone. You can tell it in the way an email is written. You can tell and you should always be you. Like, don't try and send out these pitches or these communications that are robotic and just feel forced because they can tell that you haven't actually read or done any of their research or even understand what it is that, they report on. So I do think if you really truly want the media to love you, you have to put in that work. You have to put in that work to get to know the style of writing, things that they've done in the past, take time to connect with them, bring value. We talk about that a lot. Like we have, Happy Hour Hustle. So we'd love to bring in some of these journalists that are, that are doing great things within the industry and talk to them and introduce them to, like our listeners, and it might not be an industry or they might cover an industry that isn't really relevant to our current client base, but they have value to add. And that's, and then we're going to learn something because I do think public relations is all about learning and not being stuck in the past because things change. Affiliate marketing, pay to play, the listicles, gift guides, all of those things. I mean, we have got to be on top of these trends and these changes to the industry because if we're stuck in the past, then so is our clients coverage.
Oh, and like that goes into even like simple research, like making sure their beat is like what, like pitching a reporter whose beat isn't right, looking at their maybe like Kim, what if you saw a reporter that had 8 rescue dogs? Like,
oh my God,
those details, like look for those things.
They would be my new best friend. I would force them to be my new best friend. That's it. Like you're crazy just like me. So, and that's the thing too. They have bios, like look at their bio, find common ground, like you can, like for us, we can see some of that within like, our media database, but really you're going to get the most up to date on like Twitter or like, their byline on, online for one of the publications they write for. And a lot of journalists nowadays are freelance. They're writing for 5, 6, 7, 8 different publications. So you have to do your homework or you'll never be effective.
What is your, like, how do you take all of what we just said and then apply it to pay to play, affiliate marketing, things like that?
I mean, I think we still treat that like that is like, it's still earned media. Like, so for me it's the same thing, because there are multiple other people that are pitching um you know affiliates. There are multiple other people that are interested in pay to play, because if it can be truly targeted to a geography or a subject matter that is going to be a really good like opportunity for your client, then yeah, there's going to be multiple people that reach out. So I think the other really important thing to happen is it doesn't stop after you get the coverage. Like, how many of us have not sent a note after we got that coverage? Have not thanked that reporter for including us? How easy would that be? We tweet it out, we tag them, or we like send them a note, or just a nice email that says, "I really appreciate this. I enjoyed working with you." Like, we get the public relations industry and pros get a bad rap because, like, we do there tends to be some laziness in it, and what I mean by that is you're not taking the time to do the research. You're then not doing like the necessary follow-up, or you're saying like, screw it, I'm just going to send like a mass email out to like however many reporters from a list that I pulled, but I'm not going to make sure they're still at the publication. They're not writing on that subject matter anymore, or like whatever. So, or maybe they've been promoted to like an editor position and they're not necessarily writing the stories. So I think, yeah, I think it just comes down to like, you've got to take the time to do the work, and there's ways to do it strategically. Like, we talk about this all the time. Public relations is juggling a lot of balls, a lot. So you have to be uber organized, and find ways to like, be focused, so you can actually get the things done that you need to. Because you might be pulling a media list one day, but the next day you've got to go through and double check that media list. Make sure, double check the reporters, past articles they've written on, that kind of stuff. And then you have to customize your outreach to every single reporter, and then you have to do follow-up and figure out what additional value you're going to add. And then sometimes it's picking up the phone, or sometimes it's like reaching out via social media. So I think to get the media to truly love you, it's a matter of gratitude and respect.
Period. I could not agree more, because at the end of the day, they're doing their job too. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
that symbiotic, like you're helping each other.
Lauren, from what you learned in school, since you're the most recent grad here, barely, what do you think is different from what you've learned, like in being at 834, than kind of what you were taught in the classroom about either PR or journalists?
Yeah, I feel like while you guys were talking, I'm like, because I feel like it's honestly kind of like completely different. Like, I feel like I did pitching while I was in school,
Mm-hmm.
but like for us, it was more so like, yeah, we added a few different facts for each pitch, but I don't feel like we were truly like relationship building. So I don't feel like it was necessarily relationship focused in any regard. So I feel like that's different. I also feel like it's completely different to like actually have like real clients that you're like, oh, this is why. Like, the why portion of like connecting with any media relations professional
Yeah.
is completely different. So that's kind of what I've noticed throughout my time, my brief time.
Yeah. Emma, what about you? What do you think?
I would say I would agree with that. And then how many, I think, like, steps it really does take to get that earned media. Because let's say you have a press release and you have to write like the static pitch, and then you then have to customize, and then you have to follow up, and then you have to, and like making sure it's all about that research. And that's something that I didn't realize, is that I think when you think of research, you think, I'm going to look at this journal and I'm going to take statistics. And it's like, no, sometimes it's social media stalking. It's reading a lot, like going to these publications that you've never heard of and scouring their blogs. Like, it's fun, but it's also a lot of in-depth work that takes time.
It is.
Yeah, because these reporters are like real people. Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like when you like go and look at their Instagram, it's like, oh, they like to travel, they like to read. Like, how can I put that in? And I feel like that's why like our most recent PR meeting, we were talking about like authentic pitching. It was
Yeah.
like, damn, like I literally could be appealing to so many other things, and I'm choosing to be static. Like, for why?
Yeah.
So
Sometimes
yeah,
because it's just easier. Sometimes it's just
yeah.
easier to be like, like whatever.
Mhm.
But it's like it's never going to be effective. And like I'm still on list as like I will get mass emails from other PR pros that are telling me about news for one of their clients because somehow I got on their list as a journalist. And I'm like, don't ever send a mass email. Also, if you're going to do it, which you should not, please do not put all of the emails in the to section. Like if you don't know how to blind copy, you should not even be employed at this point in your life. Like that may seem harsh, but wow. Like I get them sometimes from like, like very like industries that have a lot of security, like should not like that should not happen. And I'm just like, I have all these emails now that I should not have. What should I do with them? Obviously nothing because like I have ethics and stuff, but that's very true. It's very much like, like you could be lazy or you be effective. Maybe you send out less pitches, but they're more targeted and they're more relevant. And when we talk authentic pitching, I think that's an important thing to like, what does that mean? What is, like it kind of sounds like a buzzword phrase. So like, Emma, to you, how would you define authentic pitching?
I feel like authentic pitching is connecting with the journalist on a real level, finding common ground, something that would like knowing pitching a reporter and knowing that something will resonate with them or
Yep.
it'll like strike something. It doesn't have to be super deep, but just knowing that there's a genuine level there. Like they're gonna want to read this, not just like I need to get X amount of pitches out today. Quality over quantity.
I agree with that as well. I also feel like I feel like the way that I speak, obviously I feel like you guys know this because you work with me, but I feel like the way that I speak is like a little bit different sometimes. And so like I feel like maybe like meeting them where they're at in that. So like for example, like sometimes like the journalists that we're reaching out to are like a little bit quirky and they like say like funny little things in their writing. So like I try to pick out like funny portions or like something like you know what I mean? Something that's relatable to me personally, how you were saying, like, and tease that out rather than just being like, oh, hey, this is my client. Da, 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 da. So like yeah, making it a little bit more fun is my goal and also something that I'm trying to work on more.
So I think it's important to note that they also want recognition for the work that they've done. So several years back, we had a client out of Canada. They were within the furniture industry, in the acoustic space. The product was really, really cool. So I was pitching somebody in an industry publication, and I went through and I was looking at some of her past like articles, and she had done like this piece that was I think she covered like a remodel or something, and the photos were gorgeous and like everything was like. And so the first thing I put in my pitch was like, I really enjoyed this article, and like I love to see like how this was integrated or blah 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 blah. And then I brought on, I went into kind of my pitch of whatever it was, but she responded back and she said, thank you so much, and if you want to see more pictures of this project, here you go. And she sent me a link. And I did end up getting the client placed in there. And I do think part of it is because I went through and I looked at her past work. I actually read it because it was very interesting. And then also I was like, this is really cool. And so, I pointed that out. So I think the recognition, the kudos, the not sucking up, but just saying, I really enjoyed this piece in your article and actually mean it. So I think that's what authenticity comes down to. It's just being, like transparent. It's being forthright. And it's actually like, again, just being authentic. Like don't bluff them because they can tell and that comes across. So
I wanted to know about your best journalist stories or like your favorite PR journalist relationships, like a reporter that you have a vibe with. Loren, I thought of you and
Oh, that one person?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. I was like, I don't have any. But I'll go first then. But basically I was pitching something. I don't remember who it was for. But I was pitching something like a couple of months ago, and like came across someone in Muck Rack, and their last name was the same as mine, and I was like, oh, so like I have to pitch this person. So I pitched something to them, and they were like, there's no way we're not related. Like we have to be related, and I think that we are. I'm friends with her on LinkedIn now. We follow each other on social media. Like we'll see.
I actually connected with somebody that had my same name on LinkedIn too. And like, just because they have the same name, I don't even, yeah. So it's a tangent. I will tell you one of my lessons learned. I pitched the Today Show, but it was actually Good Morning America. And so when I pitched the Today Show, I mentioned Good Morning America. That is a big, big mistake. I was so embarrassed. And this person like responded and clearly was annoyed, as they should have been. And I was like, well, I just screwed up that relationship. Like, but looking back on it now, I could have turned it around. I could have sent a note to that person I pitched and said, yeah, this is the chick that, in it said, hey, I'm the woman that like decided to pitch Good Morning America to, you who works at the Today Show. So, here's my card if you ever want to mock me for it or whatever. But I could have done something like that, Again, that's being authentic. But yeah, that was a big screw up. You get moving so fast sometimes that you just like, and if you're customizing your pitches, there's definitely things that you have to change out within the communication. And sometimes, again, if you're moving too fast, you miss that. So not okay, Kim.
I when I had followed up with this reporter, I used the wrong name. I did not copy and paste. It was a literally like similar name, whatever.
Mhm.
And then I just followed up and I was like, Queen, I'm so sorry. Like I was moving too fast, didn't catch it. My apologies. And she was like, thank you so much. Happens all the time. Like, thanks for reaching out. And I was like, there you go. Like
Mhm.
being honest,
Again, we're communicating with real people.
literally.
Like, yeah, and I think it is hard too because like there's a lot of PR pros that have given the industry a bad name. So we come up against that. And sometimes I dealt with a guy, industry publication, more technical area, and boy was he angry. And I pitched him something and he went off on me that he wasn't like blah 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 and I shouldn't have blah blah blah. So I literally reached out to his counterpart at that same publication and he went for the story. And you just don't know sometimes. Like you just don't know how people are going to react. He had no reason to react like that. And I actually did respond to him and say, there's literally no reason you ever need to talk to another human being like this. Like you don't. That actually goes back to, we have a blog that we wrote a while back that says PR professionals need to demand more because the respect needs to go both ways. So how do we get the media to love you, us, whatever, to just love is, it's really like respect, authenticity, like putting in the research, that kind of stuff. But it has to also go both ways. There's no reason that we should, if the pitch is a good fit for them, if it's, or if a lot of times it's like, I don't know, I don't have the bandwidth to do this. It's a great story, but I have 5 other great stories that I'm writing about. And I appreciate that more than anything. Like, thank you for taking the time to respond because most of the time it's radio silence. I mean, that's probably about 80%. Yeah. Or it's probably higher than that. So, but I do think that is it. I mean, if I was going to summarize this, I think it's being authentic. It's letting your personality shine through. You're not a robot. Mutual respect, and adding value.
Period. I completely agree. And I feel like those are like, that's like the basis, especially I feel like my entire PR career has been here, but having that as the foundation, I feel like I am set up for success.
And we're always learning and put your pride aside because like there's no room for it. There's no room for ego, really, I think, in anything we do. I mean, we're behind the scenes a lot of times and we just have to, we have to be okay with that. we will land a you know, like a segment on the Today Show, and then next week it's forgotten because the client's already moved on. What else can we do? You know, so it's a career that is hard, and journalists have it incredibly hard too. They have a lot of turnover. Some of it's pretty low paying. They're writing for multiple, they're writing for like multiple beats. And they've got to cover a lot of content and a lot of happenings. So I think we just have to remember, like, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, we're all human.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was a serve.
I think so too. I don't think we have anything else to add here. I think that's it. That's our happy hour hustle on getting the media to love you. So, and also go read our blogs, because we've written so much on this, like how to craft a pitch, authenticity in pitching. We actually wrote that in May of last year. So just go and search our blog. We talk about affiliate marketing, what that is, and how that needs to be integrated into your PR strategy. Same thing with influencers, which is also paid. This industry encompasses a lot more than people think. I think people see PR and they think press release, and that is so not it. That's the tiny part of what we do. So
yeah, I'll link a ton of those in the show notes. So if you're listening, go and read and listen.
Yes. So everybody, thank you for tuning in again. We promise we'll be bringing you some very exciting guests in the future. I'm really excited about what we have planned. So make sure you're checking back. We'll also be doing some, shorter vignettes. So you don't have to sit here with us for 35 minutes. We promise we'll be more brief. It's hard though. When PR people are allowed to talk, we just want to keep talking because nobody wants to listen to us. It's very exciting. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on the download.
Oh, hey, this is my client. Da, 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 da.